Alright everybody, welcome to another Finish Force episode. This is one that I've been excited about doing for a while and I've kind of just been putting it off, but today it's all about how I went from shooting this Twizzler of a 350 spine V-Force to a super heavy 250 grain Serious Vulcan, my experience with the heavy arrow building adult arrow process, and what I think about it.
That's a whale.
I'd really started getting stressed.
That's like, oh my gosh.
Tickled to death.
How's that to start your morning?
Well, that was freaking awesome. That was so cool. Alright, so before we get into how I've seen the light and made the switch from the mechanical to the fixed blade, the light arrow to the heavy arrow, talk about a different kind of light and do our verse of the day. So this one came from our service at church this morning. This is going to be Matthew 25 verses, we'll do like two of the verse, 28 and 29. Yes, no, let's do 28 through, 28 and 29. It's all about talents. This sounds a little weird out of context, but if you go and read the whole thing, you get the idea. It's all about using your talents and not letting them go to waste. So 28 says, "So take the talent from him, give it to him who has 10 talents, for to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have an abundance, but from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away." It's talking about not letting your talents go to waste. Using your talents, you're going to have talents added to them. If you don't use them, they're going to be removed from you. Using your talents for the good of the Lord and his kingdom. So, that was, I loved our service today, and that was what the basis of it was, what the bulk of it was built around. Alright, heavy arrow setup. This is something that I'm sure a lot of people have heard of and are more and more familiar with. It's one of the hot topic things that everybody is talking about and either loves or is skeptical of. But it seems like a lot of people that are skeptical about it and don't like it are the ones that haven't done it, at least from the people that I've listened to and talked to. So all of this, I have to make sure everybody knows, this whole process that I'm going to talk about comes from the Ranch Fairies channel. So Ranch Fairy, Troy, he is the godfather of the heavy arrow build process. Him, Dr. Ashby, the Ashby Foundation, and whoever he calls the wizard, I forget that guy's name. I don't know everybody that he's close with and has worked with and done all this info with, but I have absolutely changed everything about my arrow setup after finding out about this whole process last year, probably early this year. So same way a lot of people did, which was through the Hunting Public podcast. They were at, I don't know if it was an ATA show, they were at some trade show, hunting show, and sat down and did an interview with Ranch Fairy. And what got my interest was that a lot of the problems he explained people having with the light, he calls them Twizzler arrows, baby arrows, kid arrows, whatever. The problems that a lot of people have with those that he was explaining were all problems that I've had in the past. Not getting penetration, not finding deer, being afraid to shoot where you need to shoot because you don't want to hit the shoulder blade, and all that stuff were things that I was able to relate to. So this is the setup that I was shooting last year and in years past. This is a V-Force 350 grain gamer. It's probably whatever was sitting in the cheap box at the archery shop. Blazer Vanes is just an arrow that they would sell to a lot of people. This is I think this is a Rage. It's either 100 or 125 grain Rage. There's no insert in other than just the standard little aluminum one, mechanical. Okay, looks pretty familiar. A lot of people shoot them. I've still got friends that shoot them that like them, but I've had some bad experiences with some mechanicals. And then this is what I'm shooting now. This is a 250 spine Serious Vulcan. Right there. The business end is a 225 grain Steel Force fixed blade, and there's a 100 grain insert in it as well. And as opposed to just your regular Blazer vanes like the other one, these are the left helical vanes, and I've got the left wing on the fixed broadhead as well. So this is not me trying to just repeat what Troy's process is, he's got on his YouTube channel there's a playlist that takes you through every step of the process. And so all that information is out there, and it's shared in a much more efficient and accurate and in-depth way than what I could possibly do. But this is just to give you kind of my experience and my take on the process, things that did work for me, what didn't work for me, and things that took a whole lot of practice until I got aggravated and just started doing it a different way. Which is why you can see a different looking fletching on this arrow right here. I've got a few that have got these quick fletches just boiled onto them now. But anyways, we'll get there. So starting out with this, first thing I had to do was figure out an arrow. I've been shooting this, I mean, you can flex it pretty easy, and you can flex all these pretty easy. It's not just because I'm a big strong man, but that 250 doesn't flex nearly as much. That's one thing that I learned. That's what the spine rating is all about, is how much you can flex the arrow, but how much the arrow will give. And what's confusing, and this is aggravating too, and you'll learn this watching his channel, is that a lot of the stuff can be labeled where it's hard to just tell what it is. Like this one, it's called a Victory V-Force 245, but it's not 245 spine arrow, it's 350 spine arrow. I don't know if it's Easton or Carbon Express. Somebody labels theirs weird, but to where they're not called, their names have spine numbers. You know, it's all like 250 or 300 or 400, but that's not, it's like it's almost in reverse order. I don't know what it is. Anyways, so you gotta make sure that you're shooting the spine arrow you think you are. I had no idea. I literally just said, hey, I need some arrows, and here, take these, shoot these, and that's what I had done my first 4 years of bow hunting. So anyways, you can go to his playlists. He's got the entire, it's called, I'll find it right here for it, High FOC Arrow Testing, and then he's got some sharpening videos, and then he's got the entire High FOC Arrow Build playlist. There's 10 videos on there, and I did as best I could to go through every single steps of one of those processes. So the first thing I did is I went to my archery shop, Bow Hunter Pro Shop. It's in Halls. If anybody's around Knoxville and needs a good pro shop, it's one that I like. And I bought 3 arrows. I bought a 300 spine, a 250 spine, and a 200 spine. This is not probably what you're supposed to do. I bought 3 different arrows. I really just wanted the different spines to test to see if there was anything that just fit my bow well, and it just seemed to shoot straight, paper tuned well, all right away. And of course I didn't. I bought the Ethics Archery Test Kit, the Field Test Kit pack thing, majigger bag. It comes with 10 broadheads, or not, 10 field points, and it's got everything from a 200 grain to a 300 grain. And just for some comparison, there's my 125 grain broadhead from the year before. I knew after watching a lot of their videos, a lot of the ones that get put out about that heavy arrow build, whether it's from Troy or whether it's from the Hunting Public guys, is that I knew that I should be able to be safe starting off with a 100 grain insert in. I know I wanted to shoot kind of as heavy of an arrow as I can. I'm not a whiz of an archer. I don't take long shots. I have no business shooting past 30 yards at any living creature. So I knew I was going to start, and of course I'm holding this up, but you can't see it. I went ahead and bought 100 grain inserts from Ethics as well. And so actually I think the inserts might have come with the series pack. I'll get there. I can't remember. Anyways, so I started off buying those 3 arrows, 250, 300, and 350, or 200, 250, 300 spine arrows. Come home, shoot every one of the test kit sizes through paper, and I'm getting left hairs on every single weight, every single shot. There was consistency in a bad way, and everything was shooting to the left. So the first thing I had to do, it's not the arrow's fault, and at that point I really wasn't thinking it's my fault. I had to go buy another whisker biscuit. Mine isn't adjustable horizontally, and it just wasn't, the bow wasn't lined up. So first problem, I've been shooting a bow that hadn't been lined up, because that's how they sold it to me at Bass Pro Shops, and I didn't know any better, and they didn't show me any better. So the whisker biscuit, it just wasn't lined up. It was coming off the bow. It's crooked. And so figured that out shooting through paper, went and bought a new whisker biscuit, come back, and ended up liking the 250 spine the best. It seemed like a pretty stout arrow without going completely 200 opposite direction. So I went ahead and ordered, you can get on Sirius's website, right there, and they'll sell you, I think 6 and 12 packs arrows, whatever spine you want. They've got a few different models, and they'll send you the size inserts that you want. That's right, that I did get them from Sirius. I didn't get my inserts from Ethics, but when I ordered the kit, I went ahead and ordered the 100 grain inserts with it. And then once I had the 250 arrow, the 100 grain inserts, I started paper tuning again with the different weights. And the weight that ended up shooting the best for me was 225 grains. 200 was okay. 225 was really where I was getting the best, you know, just punching holes through the paper with it. And the only not troublesome thing, it's a good thing that I found exactly what weight that I needed to shoot, was that it's really easy to find. It's a lot easier to find 200 grain or 250 grain fixed blade broadheads, single bevel broadheads, than it is to find 225 grain. But I found them, decided that was the weight I was going to shoot, and got these from Three Rivers Archery. I'm sure a lot of these places are sounding familiar to you if you've done any adult arrow looking into or video watching in the past. But ended up getting, these are Steel Force broadheads, Steel Force brand, 225 grain. They're left wing, which I would not have just, you know, specifically wanted left wing, except for they were the only ones that were in stock. So I buy the left wing broadheads, and I then had to go and get the left helical twisting vanes. We'll get to the vanes in a minute. So I figured out what broadheads I want. I know what weight I'm going to shoot, 225 grains. I'm still paper tuning at this point, and I still have. And by that I just mean I haven't put the fletchings on me. I'm still bare shaft paper tuning, is what I mean. And so get them in, and then comes knock tuning. Knock tuning was the most frustrating, longest taking aspect of the whole process, which you can see it in the videos, but it's literally taking the knock and turning the knock in the arrow until you find where it just shoots the truest. Because this whole time I've been shooting, I did all of that testing just to figure out what weight I want in the front. Well, then when I put that weight on all 6 arrows and then try to get it even more dialed in with the knock, it took forever. And I was probably making quarter turns every time, roughly, because I wasn't being real precise with, all right, let me just turn it just a quarter now, just a quarter now, just a quarter now. I felt there were some arrows where I know I went all the way around that arrow 3 or 4 times before I finally found a spot where it just all of a sudden punched a hole through the paper. It wasn't tearing high, it wasn't tearing low or left or right. It just finally made a good punch, and I was over it. Usually about the time like I'm about to just forget it. I'm not even going to draw notches on this. I'm just going to stick it in and it's going to be fine. But right when I was about to get to that point is when I would finally get a good shot through the paper. So then the knock tuning's done, and I go to the vanes. I don't have any of those fletching tools. I don't have a, whatever they call it, the little metal thing you stick it in that they've got the pro shops where you glue them on. I definitely didn't know anything about how I was going to fletch them with the left helical twist. And so I don't want to go through the whole process and then just stick some vanes on the back of it and call it good. So I ended up finding something else that Troy uses on that Ranch Trade channel, Arizona Easy Fletch. And they make these right helical, left helical, straight vanes. And the way it works is you load your arrow, knock end into the bottom of this, you set your vanes in it. I can show you, because I've got some vanes right here, because I'm nifty and prepared. These are actually feather vanes. I did not end up putting feather vanes on my arrows. I tried, didn't work. That was a dumb thing. But you lay them in these vanes, or you lay the vanes in these notches, close it up. It's been so long since I've done this now, I am. You'd stick the arrow in it, lock it in place, you put glue on the vanes, pop that cap on there, slide it over the arrow sticking out here, wait a couple minutes, it glues them on. This was also incredibly frustrating because I don't know what I'm doing with any of this. And I started off with feathers because I thought, oh, feathers look cool. Troy likes shooting feathers, I'll shoot feathers. But I couldn't find, this only fits at the 3-inch vanes. And so the feathers that I bought, of course, were maybe 4 inches. They were at least 3.5, they might have been 4 inches. So I ended up trying, this just did not work, trying to cut the feather vanes about 1 inch short, which of course I never could cut them just perfect. And I'm very OCD about not very many things in my life, but about my hunting and fishing stuff I am. So I want them all to be symmetrical, I want them all to be perfect, and I'd get them in there and they just wouldn't be glued right. I'd have some, and you might even be able to tell, nah, that one's pretty good. But I would have some where like one vane would be just a little bit higher, a little bit lower than the other two, and it just really frustrated me. So I ended up just buying regular rubber plastic vanes, like most arrows shoot. But the problem, I think, was that the vanes weren't meant to be left helical. They didn't have that twist in them by themselves. They were just regular straight vanes. And I've had a problem with a lot of these vanes, and you can see it on this one. After shooting them for a week or two, that glue starts to come undone and they start wanting to pull up on the front of that vane. And I think it's because the way that spine of that vane just naturally wants to go straight, I think it's just torquing it and it pulls on it enough. Either that, or I just didn't put enough glue on it, didn't glue it right somehow. Because I did have a problem, I knew I had some excess glue that was getting stuck to this stinking fletching tool, because when I'd go to take them out, it would want to pull the vane up with it, or I'd have to cut it out. It was frustrating. Looking back, if it hadn't been so close to season, not so close, it wasn't a last second thing, but it was enough time, there was short enough time between when I finished the arrows in velvet that I felt like I needed just to buy this tool and do the fletchings myself, as opposed to, I've got enough time to take to the pro shop, wait some time for them to fletch it on there, get them to fletch the left helical thing and all that jazz. But anyways, so I ended up doing it myself, but in hindsight, next build, I either need to buy the right tools to do it or take it to a pro shop and let them just do the fletching part, which is probably what's more likely to happen. So I get the fletchings on there. Oh, I missed a step. What was not as hard as I thought it was going to be was to tune the inserts. So tuning the inserts, it all takes time, but it's literally, you'll see this in his videos, putting a broadhead in it and just spinning, and this is not gonna look good right now, but you spin it and you just find the spot where, yeah, see, I'm not gonna be able to do it right now. You just find the spot where it just spins perfectly still, and you wait until it gets to those last few rotations, and if it doesn't noticeably wobble in those last few rotations, there'll be a spot as you're twisting that insert around where it gets good. And you just mark the insert on the arrow, same way you mark the nock at its sweet spot. You draw a line like that one is right there, mark it on the nock, mark it on the arrow, so when you go to glue them in later, you know you're in the right spot. Anyways, so get the whole setup up front done. It's a lot of shooting bare shafts through paper, which is fun. And I like that a lot. But that was another thing that was one of the biggest selling points to me to get me to make the switch, was seeing slow motion videos when you shoot, talking about just power and God, this is so light now that I picked this up. It's insane that I ever thought I should be shooting this at something. But the difference between, just as far as power being pushed through the arrow, through the animal that you're shooting, was watching videos up close in slow motion of bare shaft 350, 400 spine arrows with a regular 100, 125 grain field point on it. When they hit that solid target, watching how much the back end of that arrow flexes and moves, and when it penetrates and it sticks, it's not a dart, it's sitting there wobbling, because that power is not all going through the tip of the arrow. Again, I can't use the terms and say this as eloquently as you can be going to the actual source. But then when they shoot that bare shaft, in this case I've got 300 300 compared to this that's either 100 or 125 grains. I've got 325 grains at the front end of this arrow, which is, even in the heavy arrow world, it's not the greatest amount of weight you're gonna find on the end of it. But it's a whole lot heavier than what I shoot. When they put those heavy arrows that are tuned and everything's aligned, the nock's tuned, the insert's tuned, everything's going, and it penetrates and it hits that target and it sticks, there's no power, no momentum being lost, sitting there wobbling at the end, waiting for it to stop. And you really don't see it until you watch it in slow motion. This hits that target and it's a dart. I mean, it's just, and you can just tell all that power's getting used. And it's been obvious, the one deer that I have shot this year with the heavy arrow setup, I wish I'd gotten to test it out on a few more. It was exactly like you'd expect and what you hear it is. So I'll show you some videos or pictures and excuse me. So I'll show you some videos and pictures right here, and all of this is one podcast where I will definitely say, if you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify or wherever, just listen to it. This is gonna make a whole lot more sense. You can actually see some things if you go and watch it on the YouTube channel. But this is the deer that I shot in the piebald episode. I don't know if she had a piebald gene or what. She got that white spot on her head. This is that deer. She was at 23 yards. She was quartering away. And the number one advantage that I feel like shooting these heavy arrows gives me is confidence to shoot where I need to shoot. I know for a fact that I've lost deer in the past when I was just young and dumb, didn't know any better, not trying to hit any shoulder blades or shoulder muscles and just shooting too far back. But being able to essentially shoot this like you're shooting a gun, as far as broadside, quartering to and away is concerned, and not having to worry about what you're going to hit, because it's going to have the power, it's going to have the carrier to penetrate it and get through it. That's been, for me, by far, I think the biggest advantage that I gained from shooting these heavy arrows. But anyways, so this doe comes in, she's at 23 yards. I know this isn't a good video if I'm showing you the shot right here. This is on the GoPro. I just didn't have time to get the main camera spun around. She's quartering away, which is just a little bit, which is perfect. And so this enters behind the near side shoulder, and it comes out through her opposite side shoulder. So I got total penetration through the opposite side shoulder and the shoulder blade. It's 23 yards. And when I recover her, she made about 60 yards, and when she's running off, she doesn't do the death run, death sprint. I mean, yeah, she mule kicks real big. I think surely she knew she got shot. But she's not just bulldogging away. It's another thing that, a lot of people say the deer don't run like they do as often when they're getting shot by mechanicals or light arrows. They're quieter. They are definitely, once you start shooting these consistently, and then you take one of your old Twizzler arrows and shoot them, they're definitely quieter. And even though she makes that big mule kick, she wasn't doing that death sprint, run for her life deal. She kind of trots off, made it about 60 yards, and crashed right in the road. But when I went and recovered her, I was real anxious to see, because I didn't ever find my arrow, because I didn't know initially if it passed through, and I was really aggravated because I was like, crap, here I've done all this. It's just a regular doe. She was 23 yards, and I didn't know if I got a pass through or not. So I go recover the deer, I roll her over, and I don't see an exit wound. I'm like, well,
that's entry.
Great. I didn't pass through, but obviously killed her. She didn't go far. I was able to shoot where I want to shoot. It's fine. It wasn't until I was quartering her out later that morning that I got to that opposite side, and it made such a small exit wound. Of course, I can't unfold this broadhead because it's been sitting outside and it's all rusted up. And I might be able to. If I can do this without cutting my fingers off, yeah. So as far as exit wound goes, if this broadhead works as well as it's supposed to, which we all know that they don't always do that, you're getting at least more, it's closer to 3 times the exit wound size, if that mechanical cuts like it is meant to. This made such a small exit wound that I didn't see the exit wound on her body. The hair was able to lay down and cover it up. But when I was quartering her out, I found on that opposite side of the thoracic wall the exit wound, and just to make sure, I went and even looked back on the cape, and it had completely passed through. And I guess there was just so much red on the arrow, you know, that I just didn't see it in the leaves. And I really didn't look for it, because I didn't walk to the point of impact. Initially, I walked to the last point that I saw her in the woods, and then ended up just following blood from there. But yeah, it got a total pass through the opposite shoulder. But it was just surprising to me that and it could have just been where I shot her at, that the blood all came out of one. All the blood obviously came out, because it got a pretty solid blood trail, which some people say they don't get as good a one with fixed blades, but that doesn't matter if they don't run anywhere if you shoot them where you're supposed to. You can tell I've been converted by the way I'm talking, probably. But anyways, there just wasn't an exit wound on the opposite side. It was small enough to where the hair just covered it up, but it absolutely did get a pass through. And my fletching problems, the first thing that I found was one of my fletchings had ripped off on entry, and it was just stuck to the blood on the entry wound side. I was like, yeah, the fletchings have been having some problems. Just staying on. But as long as it can hold on until it makes contact, that's all I was worried about. So the one other thing that I did that is different, that fixed fletching problem, it's not helical, this is not ideal. This is not what I would want to do. But I was losing enough fletchings where I went and got just the NAP quick fletch. These are the ones that you slide on, boil them in water for 30 seconds or something, and then they're done. They're not helical, but they do have a little lip on the back edge of it. Kind of like, I don't know if this would be what you call an offset fletching or not, but it's got a little bit of lip that makes that arrow turn. And just the math and the physics, I don't know if this is really physics, behind all this. So you've got the left wing in the ideal setup here, the left wing broadhead, the left helical fletchings. When this hits, the way that that's cut, the way that left wing is cut, it's going to want to spin and rotate to the left on entry. And you've got these left helical veins that are spinning it to the left in the air. And so you're like, not only are you zipping through them with the power and the momentum, and you've got the heavy FOC, when you hit that deer, it's also, the entire time it's in the air, spinning, like it's going to screw its way through them. And I just think that that's the coolest thought. Just, I mean, as far as this being like, I'm going to aim this arrow at your heart, and I don't care what I'm going to hit before or after I get to it, I'm going to be able to shoot through it. And just, to me, that's a big deal to have that sort of confidence in it. But anyways, I'm a fan, I'm a convert. I don't ever see a scenario where I would want to go back to shooting any arrow any lighter than this. I do not, and this is terrible, I have not done the total arrow weight. I don't have anything that measures in grains. I don't have that sensitive of a scale, but it's 250 spine arrow, regular nock. I don't shoot the lighted nocks just because I just have never bought them. But left helical, white fletchings, I want to see the blood, 250 spine, Sirius Vulcan, 225 grain fixed blade, 100 grain insert, but it doesn't really matter what's on it if it isn't all tuned and put together as well as it could be. But when it is, man, you feel like you're muzzleloader hunting. You just point and shoot. You just can't shoot it as far. At least me. Some people are definitely better archers, can shoot 50, 60 yards, I guess, somehow. I don't see how. That's what Plan B's for. It's another range fairy term. Anyways, that's my experience with it. I love it. I'm a fan of it. People are going to like what they like. This is my new way of doing it, and I appreciate Ranch Fairy, the hunting public, everybody for putting that information out there to make me feel like I've got a whole lot better chance of killing a deer when I shoot at them. So that's my setup. If you've been interested in it, that's my take. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on it. If you're still a diehard mechanical person, if you've been converted, maybe you've shot fixed blades, fixed points all along. So thanks for watching the channel, whether it's on YouTube or through the podcasting airwaves. But yeah, If you like it, subscribe, follow along. There'll always be more. So until now, I will say adios, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. God bless you. Have a phenomenal day.